The first law of the galaxy: don't attack the human young, but Galactic Council broke it. The marble halls of the Galactic Council stretched endlessly upward, their crystalline surfaces reflecting the light of 1,000 different stars. Ambassador Krell stood at the center podium, his forearms folded in what his species considered a gesture of supreme authority. Around him, representatives from 300 civilizations watched in silence. "The humans have become too dangerous," Krell declared, his voice echoing through the translation matrices. "Their expansion threatens the stability we have maintained for millennia. We must act before they spread further." In the back row, Ambassador Thorn of the Celesti Federation raised a delicate appendage. "You speak of action, yet you ignore the first law. It has protected every species since the founding of this council." "The first law applies to civilized species," Krell responded. "The humans have proven themselves to be anything but civilized. They wage war among themselves. They destroy their own planet. They consume resources without thought for the future." A murmur rippled through the assembly. The first law of the galaxy was simple yet sacred. No species shall harm the young of another. It had prevented countless genocides, stopped wars before they began, and maintained peace for 10,000 years. "You propose we break our most sacred covenant?" Thorn's crystalline form shimmered with disbelief. "I propose we eliminate a threat before it eliminates us." Krell activated a holographic display showing Earth and its colonies. "Look at their history. In less than 3 centuries since achieving spaceflight, they have colonized 40 systems. They breed at rates that alarm our xenobiologists. Their military technology advances faster than any species we have encountered." The display shifted to show human military vessels. Most concerning of all, they refuse to submit to council authority. They claim sovereignty over their territories and reject our offers of membership. Elder Vex of the Ancient Collective spoke for the first time in 50 years. "Fear clouds your judgment, Krell. The humans are young as a spacefaring race. Give them time." "Time?" Krell's scales darkened. "Time for them to develop weapons that could challenge even the Collective? I think not." He gestured to the assembly. "I call for a vote. A preemptive strike on their colony worlds. Target their young, their schools, their nurseries. Without the next generation, humanity will wither and die peacefully." The hall erupted in debate. Some species recoiled in horror at the suggestion. Others, particularly those whose systems bordered human space, showed signs of agreement. The vote was called. By a margin of 3 votes, the motion passed. The fleet assembled in the void between stars was the largest military force the Council had ever created. 2,000 ships from 50 different species, all united in a purpose that made many of their captains sick with dread. They had been given their orders: strike the human colony on New Eden, a world known to house 3 million human young in its educational facilities. Admiral Krell stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the fleet prepare for the jump to hyperspace. "History will vindicate us," he told his second-in-command. "We do what must be done." The attack began at dawn on New Eden. The Council fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, weapons charging, shields at maximum. They expected token resistance from the small colony's defense force. They did not expect the entire human Confederate Navy. Admiral James stood on the bridge of the Retribution, humanity's newest dreadnought. He had received word of the Council's vote through sympathetic allies, species who remembered what honor meant. Humanity had 3 days to prepare, and they had used every second. "Sir, the Council fleet is requesting our surrender," his communications officer reported. James smiled grimly. "Open a channel to all ships, theirs and ours." When the channel opened, his voice was calm, almost conversational. "Attention, Galactic Council fleet. I am Admiral James of the Human Confederate Navy. You have come here to murder our children. This was your first mistake. It will also be your last." Krell's voice crackled over the comm. "You cannot hope to stand against the combined might of the Council. Surrender, and we will make your end swift." "You misunderstand, Krell. We knew you were coming. We know about your vote, and we know you have broken the first law." James paused. "Did you really think we would not protect our young?" The space around the Council fleet suddenly blazed with light. Jump points opened by the hundreds, and human ships poured through. Not just military vessels, but civilian ships armed with mining lasers, cargo haulers fitted with missile pods, even pleasure yachts with improvised weapons. Every human who could fly and fight had come. But it was what came next that made the Council fleet pause in horror. The ships were broadcasting something, all of them, on all frequencies. The sound of human children singing, laughing, playing. The voices of the young they had come to murder. "You want to kill our children?" James asked. "Then you'll have to go through us. All of us." The battle, when it came, was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Council fleet had superior technology, better shields, more powerful weapons, but they were fighting an enemy that had nothing left to lose and everything to protect. Human ships rammed Council vessels when their weapons failed. Pilots flew their fighters into enemy bridges. A cargo hauler named Lucky Strike detonated its fusion core inside a Council battleship's hangar bay. The humans fought with a fury that transcended logic, reason, or self-preservation, and they were not alone. 3 hours into the battle, Thorne arrived with the Celesti fleet. "The Council has broken the first law," she broadcast. "This cannot stand." The ancient collective's world ships emerged from dimensions the Council fleet couldn't even perceive. Elder Vex's voice resonated across space itself. "Those who would murder the young are not worthy of the Council's protection." One by one, species that had abstained or even voted for the attack began to switch sides. The sight of humans dying to protect their children, the sound of those young voices still broadcasting, reminded them of what the first law truly meant. Admiral Krell watched his fleet disintegrate around him. Ships were fleeing, surrendering, or switching sides. His own crew was looking at him with what he recognized as disgust. "Sir," his tactical officer said quietly, "we should retreat." Krell stared at the human fleet, still fighting despite terrible losses. He had called them uncivilized, barbaric, dangerous. He had been right about the last part, but wrong about why. Humans were dangerous not because they were primitive, but because they would do anything, sacrifice anything, to protect what they loved. "Sound the retreat," he ordered, his voice hollow. The Council fleet, what remained of it, fled. But the damage was done, and not just to their ships. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened the next day. The hall that had once held 300 species now held 400. Humanity had not come alone. They brought every species they had ever traded with, helped, or protected. Admiral James stood where Krell had stood just days before. His uniform was torn, his face bearing fresh scars from the battle. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of every human who had died. "You broke the first law," he said simply. "You came for our children, and now you wonder why we fought so hard?" He looked around the hall. "We are a young species. We make mistakes. We fight among ourselves. All of this is true, but we have one rule that transcends all others. You do not touch our young." He activated a display showing the battle's aftermath. 40% of our fleet is gone. 30,000 humans died yesterday, but not a single child was harmed. "Not one," Elder Vex spoke. "The Council owes humanity a debt that cannot be repaid. You defended not just your young, but the first law itself." "We don't want your debt," James replied. "We want your promise. Never again. Never again will this Council contemplate harming the young of any species. And if someone does, know that humanity will stand against them." Krell was brought forward in restraints. His trial would come later, but his guilt was beyond question. "You were right about one thing, Krell," James said to him. "Humans are dangerous, but not for the reasons you thought. We're dangerous because we will burn the galaxy to ash before we let anyone harm our children. Remember that." The Council voted unanimously to strengthen the first law, making any violation an act of war against all member species. Humanity was offered membership, and this time, they accepted. Years later, when new species joined the Council, they were told the story of the day the first law was tested. They were told of the Council's shame and humanity's sacrifice, and they were reminded that humans, for all their perceived flaws, had taught the galaxy a crucial lesson. Some things are worth dying for. Some laws are written not in legislation but in the very fabric of what makes a species worthy of the stars. And sometimes it takes the youngest among the galactic community to remind the old of what truly matters. The first law stands stronger now than ever before. And everyone knows why. Because somewhere out there, humans are watching. And they remember,